Essential Garage Tape Pack, the only #1 Garage Tape Pack channel on YouTube.
So welcome to another episode of this Unspoken Word podcast with myself, Shane, on the Essential Garage Tape Pack platform. Today's guest has no introduction. I've been a fan of his work, his journey over the last 25, 30 years. He had one of the London's hottest night in London at the time during the late 90s into the early noughties. His production work is just from none, second to none. He's done everything at the highest level possible. I've learned a lot from his work as well. I'm honoured to have him on my show today. Mr. Jones, aka Cafe 432.
Yes, man.
Lovely to have you today.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you.
And appreciate the introduction, man.
Yeah.
It's not that deep.
No, but credit where due. You had a
appreciate
remarkable journey.
Yeah.
And your journey's
a long one.
Yeah, long one.
And sometimes it feels like it's only just begun.
Really?
Yeah, because every day is new challenges. And the work ethic is just keep going because we love it. You know, it's not just money, fame or anything like that at all. It's actually gone past that.
Yeah.
This is passion. It's in the blood. So like I said, I get in the studio, make music. It's like the first day, you know?
Definitely.
So yeah, we just keep moving, man. But yeah, thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome. What have you been up to these days? You've been just
gigging a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of DJing over the past year. I mean, this has been one of the most busiest years because this is like my second wind, really.
Okay.
First time around was Mr. Jones,
Okay.
90s. And this time around is Cafe 432, Soulful House. And that's been growing and really busy. So music production and DJing. Promoting, that's not for me anymore. You know, I suffered a lot of politics doing that in the 90s and trying to hold down a DJ career. So
yeah,
I've learned. And plus, when I look at promoting, I don't like the anxiety that you get, you know, where you open the doors and you're waiting for people to arrive. I mean, you can gauge from tickets, but, you know, by watching what's happening in the scene at the moment, that's a hard one. Whereas with music, when you're releasing it, I've gone past caring. You know, once I've released it, I'm on to the next one, you know.
Exactly.
And there's ways of measuring how well your track's done, but it's not always how I measure things, you know. Like, so a track may not necessarily sell as well or on MP3 DJ downloads, but it might do better on streaming, you know.
Exactly.
Or if we get a playlist on, say, like, I don't know, My Soul Radio, we have one on My Soul at the moment with Dawn Torman. Excuse me. Getting on a playlist, you know, or a #1 in solar radio, you know, that for me is more of an achievement than
in itself, yeah.
Just, you know, selling music to DJs sort of thing. So yeah, it's been a crazy year, I must say, and it feels like it's not letting up either. It feels like it's getting busier. You know, still getting more inquiries for DJ bookings and stuff like that. So yeah, we just got to keep moving. That's it, you know.
Absolutely. So of course, you know why we're here today, to talk about the unspoken words.
Yeah.
And that's why we have our guests. We talk about your journey and what you've done over the time. So we're going to go a little bit back in time, and then we'll sort of work our way up to where we are.
Okay.
So tell us a bit about yourself, your background, where you grew up.
Where I grew up, I think I was born in where was it? The hospital's no longer there.
Okay.
It was in Borough of Islington. Spent a lot of time at my grandmother's as kids in Holloway.
Right.
Palmer's Green predominantly was where our family lived. Got an older brother, younger brother, and a sister. Parents are Cypriot Turkish. We was born here.
Okay.
Started off in the 70s.
Yeah.
Suffered a lot of racism
Wow.
back then. yeah, I mean, don't think, you know, if you was of any kind of, if you look different, you know, you suffered at the hands, especially when we had mods and skinheads around at the time for our childhood.
Yeah.
I think. But one thing I do say, the streets of London were a lot safer place. We used to play in the streets as kids, you know, and that was a beautiful thing. Like today, you wouldn't want your kids to go out in the street.
No.
Because, you know, there's a lot of wrong ones out there. So yeah, growing up was far different. You know, we didn't have internet, we didn't have phones, we didn't have all that kind of stuff as children. You know, make do with a box and a bit of string as kids. You know, but yeah, that was it. Just grew up, school, went to Church of England school, secondary, went on to further education and stuff.
Yeah,
like just pretty normal childhood, I'd say.
Just touching on what you said about the times that you were living in back in the 70s, like, did you experience any sort of form of racism yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of regular occurrence, I think. I think more as I approached my teen years. Whereas I do remember getting beaten up by skinheads and robbed and stuff like that. It's quite regular, man. It wasn't, you know, don't think this is like racism is any nationality suffered it. You know, if you're not white English, we suffered racism. But things changed over the years, you know. It's like back then it was kind of open. It was out in the open, then it went underground, you know, and now it's back out in the open again. I think, you know, people are they're just doing what they do, you know. We have to just get on with it, you know. We just used to brush ourselves off, go, all right, I've just been robbed. I've had people's hands down my pockets. I've had a few slaps. You just get on with it. It makes you more resilient, you know. It makes you stronger as well, because like later on in life, we kind of make sure that you know how to look after yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's your defense. Whereas when you're a youngster, you know, it was different. It was different. So yeah, that was the childhood.
And of course, you mentioned about your siblings, so your sister.
We've got an older brother, younger sister, and a younger brother as well.
Yeah. Where's does Jay Jr. fit in?
Jay Jr. is the youngest.
He's the youngest?
I'm the second oldest, yeah.
Oh,
he's the baby of the family.
Baby.
Yeah.
The one that gets spoilt the most, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, he's all right.
He's all right.
Yeah.
So how did you get into music? So you transitioning into the 70s, 80s, and what got
Well,
you
I was in the
music?
70s, I think.
Yeah.
My parents they used to have like furniture consoles back then, which had record players in them.
Okay.
You know, you slide the door back, got the record player.
Oh,
yeah.
I can remember that. Yeah.
One speaker in the bottom.
Yeah.
It was a load of crap, but it was a piece of furniture. You know, it was like a console in a guest room.
Right.
And we used to buy records. My parents had buy records. I remember things like Boney M and stuff like that from the 70s, and we used to play music. And I think about 7 years old, I asked my mum to get me, buy me, she took me to Our Price, and I bought my old piano, Diana Ross, and I've still got it today. My first ever record on 7-inch.
Wow.
Yeah. But, you know, back then it was Bob Marley, Stevie Wonder, all that kind of, it was commercial music, but it was kind of cool commercial music as well.
Course.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
And from then on, we always bought records in the family. And then, you know, when you start getting a hi-fi, the stack system in your bedroom
starts to...
Yeah, I remember having loads of those, you know, every few years I'd get a new one and stuff. But yeah, record players were always in the bedroom, and that was it. And always listened to music on vinyl, sort of thing. So I had a big vinyl collection, then went back. And it started in 77. That's how I got into the music. You know, I remember recording radio shows and having to pause when the presenter was talking. I mean, kids don't have this problem today, you know. But,
they got the stream and they can, they go on Mixcloud or SoundCloud.
But that's what we used to do. Sort of thing. And we used to have parties. My parents used to have parties, and we used to just play the records one at a time. Everyone was drunk, falling all over the place, dancing and stuff. So those were the memories of childhood and being involved in music.
Okay, so you're collecting music. You're growing with learning with all of that. That's your introduction to your music. Where you go to like house parties with friends from school, or going out clubbing at this point now during the 80s?
I think as a young teenager, when I look back at myself as a teenager, I was the sort of person to go to the cinema on my own.
Okay.
Don't ask why or how. I just remember going to the cinema on a few occasions and watching movies on my own. And then I think I even went to Pink Elephant. It was like a over 14s club in Southgate
Okay.
on a Wednesday night. I always used to hang around with older kids as well.
Okay.
I think maybe because I had an older brother who was about 3.5 years older than me. I just always had this thing about hanging around with people who are older than me. So I behaved in a slightly older manner than kids my own age or younger. And found myself starting to get into clubs because I had a passion for the music. So it was like Pink Elephant when I was 14. But by the time I was, 17, I found myself in central London on a number of occasions going clubs. And it is a bit weird when I look at it now, like what I was doing in Jacqueline's at the age of 17. That was when Carl Tough Enough was resident there.
Oh, wow.
And you got to know people, and it's like they didn't mind having these younger guys in the club, which was really weird. Yeah. I mean, when I look back at it, I thought it is a bit strange. But that's how it was back then. And I think that's where the clubbing and loved dancing. I mean, at school, we went through the break dancing and stuff like that. I mean, that's a bit that we missed out. I think it's around about 81.
So that was sort of early 80s.
Yeah, that was like body popping and break dancing and all that kind of stuff. We was into that. So you go through the trends and stuff.
You any good?
Yeah, I was just not so great at windmill, that was the challenge, I could do it just about, but it was a struggle. Whereas like, I had some friends who used to just spin and spin. I was like, hey, that's amazing. Like, and I used to go and just smash my hips and everything, but it was all right. Yeah, so we've done all that as well. Yeah. So it was cool. We went through you know how music is. It's like you have these trends and things change and move. And then kind of when you're a youngster, you kind of move with it. Whereas when you're a little bit older, you kind of sit in the pocket of what you like and you watch trends come and go, And I think that's a lot what happened to us later on in my career after we started DJing and stuff. Like we're in the pocket of a style of music and it kind of went off and changed, and the masses appreciated what we no longer appreciated because it changed. So it evolves, so trends do change and evolve sort of thing. Are you a trendsetter or are you someone who follows? It's, choice is yours, really.
So from that transition, the break beat or break dancing,
yeah, electro. It's called electro.
That's the word, electro. Yeah. So from the electro phase, you're going to these clubs, central London, etc. Yeah. What style of music are you hearing when you're going out? Soul.
Yeah. So I'm soul, R&B.
Okay.
It wasn't until 87 that we started hearing acid music and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's when that started growing. I think 88 was when the raves actually started with acid. It was like an acid scene almost, a lot of people producing a lot of acid music.
Yeah.
89, you had the Summer of Love. So you can go through it all over the years and document what was the trend at the time, And then going into early 90s, I do believe it was happy hardcore.
Okay.
And then fusion with reggae, then it became jungle, and then that blew up. But you got to remember, there's always underground scenes happening. This is the masses, but while the masses are enjoying and everyone's following trends, there's always like a little underground scene bubbling away, doing this thing, and that's always been the case, I think.
So as we're heading into the late 80s, into the early 90s, you mentioned Summer of Love as one of...
Summer of Love was 89. I think, Energy, Biology, Sunrise, these were events, massive events. You'd leave the event and you're reading in a newspaper where you've just been, and the headline would be like 5,000, drug-fueled raves or something. It was always in a negative light.
Right.
But the police had no powers back then because there was no laws. Yeah. I mean, the laws came, I think it was in 91 after the Criminal Justice Bill. I think it was like 3 people dancing around a sound system or something like that.
Oh.
That's the law. So anything above that, you need a license, you need an entertainment's license. So that's how they managed to lock off these big raves that were happening during 89, 90. I think some even went into 91.
Okay.
But that happened obviously because I think it was Leah Betts. She died of an ecstasy tablet, even though like people dying of ecstasy is less than any other thing.
It's just something, something for them to...
Yeah. And then the Marchioness happened as well. I think like people,
was
there's another party
summer-
with a boat. Yeah, the
Summer
boat sank.
89, was that?
You know what? I'm not 100% sure
Sure.
whether it's 90, 89, but I do know that it was, again, you know, it was an illegal rave or whatever, and they used that as
another way to yeah.
So they managed to get the criminal justice bill, and then the raves outside stopped. People started coming back into the clubs. So he's having fully licensed events and stuff like that, I think. And then that's when the festival started growing afterwards, because then it was all licensed and stuff. So, but I wasn't a big festival fan myself during that, you know. It was only later that we went to some festivals, decent festivals.
Was this around the time when you transitioned in wanting to be a DJ, or was that later on?
No, I think the influence of DJing came from the rave scene.
Right.
I think a lot of that.
Okay.
And I think by coincidence, buying a set of decks.
Okay.
I didn't really go out of my way to go, right, I want to become a DJ at the time.
Okay.
But I did have the opportunity to buy myself some turntables, and I took that opportunity and bought them. And that's it. And already I've got a record collection, because I've always been buying music. That's from get-go sort of thing. So I was a record collector, and then I bought myself turntables and then learned to mix.
Yeah. Do you remember your first pair of decks?
Decks?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I will put you on the spot. Don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Yeah, no, I just got offered a set of decks while I was at work, so
Okay.
I just bought them.
You just bought them?
I just bought them, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice couple of Teletext turntables, and that was it. Got them home. Got a real shabby mixer.
Oh yeah, I remember my first
Tandy
mixer.
or something. I can't remember. It's like really bad. And then just learned to mix, and that was it.
So from your first pair of decks, you're buying more music at this point?
Yeah, continued buying music. I think the music became more house. It was house, but it became, because of the scene, I think, because of the Summer of Love.
Okay.
Prior to that, it was soul, R&B, and you know, funk and whatever.
Yeah.
But the house scene, I think it was the Summer of Love that got me into the house scene. From 89. Actually 88, 89, I think. Transmat, Derek May, a bit of some of the hard stuff.
Okay.
And then Summer of Love was the Chicago house and stuff. So
okay. Yeah. So at this point, what sort of producers were you now buying? Who was inspiring?
Oh, listen, the same guys that you hear today. I think if we go back, like things like vibe music, the early days, even if you look at Masters at Work, the original stuff which was coming out, like remixes. Yeah. You know, when they first started becoming apparent in what we were doing, early Suburban. Yeah. I remember, I think it was 92, 91. I think Ministry was quite an influence as well, because the DJs used to play at Ministry of Sound. I think that opened in 91, which is where I think, you know, the after parties is where our Sunday scene was born in London. Yeah. So the influence of music was being heard from, you know, clubs like Ministry, after parties, Pirate Radio, and stuff like that. I think I made it onto Pirate Radio. I think it was 92. I think it was 92, 93, somewhere around about that time. Okay.
So was that around the time that you'd met Ramsey and Fenn at this point? Or
Ramsey I knew before. I think Ramsey I knew from, I think it was late 80s. Okay. 87, 88. You know, I'd always known him to be a DJ as well. Right. Sort of thing. So his DJing career's been a few years longer than mine. Okay. But yeah, I remember Ramsey from late 80s, 87, 88. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Okay. And so is just going back a little bit. So with regards to Pirate Radio,
how did I transition?
How did you transition to Pirate? Yeah.
I remember, I think I was just on Freak FM. I think it was 92 or 93. Right. And it was great. I think Ramsey helped me get on there, to be honest with you, because he introduced me. He was already on there, Freak FM. But I had a real bad spot. I think it was like 12 o'clock on a Sunday or something, 12 till 2 on a Sunday. But it was like the foot in the door for me.
Yeah, of course, we all start somewhere.
Because later on, I ended up on a Saturday afternoon sort of thing. You know, you just got to get your foot in sometimes, do the graft, be seen, work your way up the ladder, and then you get your promotion. You know, you can't just jump in at high places sometimes. But it was like the Saturday afternoon was a big thing for me. And that's how I got onto pirate radio.
Okay. And what was those, from if you can remember, being on Freak FM, what was the audience like at that time? Were they just sort of silent listeners, or were less interaction at the time, or?
No, we used to have phone lines and stuff.
Yeah.
So people would phone in.
Yeah.
And you used to see, I mean, because Freak used to do an event called Freak in the Manor, and then they used to do some after parties.
Right.
These were like, these were like illegal parties, after parties. I remember playing in a retail shop somewhere once on a high street or something. I don't know, just it was just some madness. Yeah. But as the interaction was good, and you used to see the faces of the people who used to listen, and then they grew as well as promoters. Their events started growing.
Okay.
In the 90s, so they started doing more and more promotions away from the Manor, which was in Manor House on the corner. It was a club on the corner.
Then hence the name.
Yeah,
I guess.
Freak in the Manor, they
Freak
called
in
it.
the
Yeah,
Manor.
it's called the Manor nightclub. Yeah. Yeah.
So from Freak FM, how did you end up with London Underground then? Because it's
I think London Underground came in 96.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And like, we're kind of like, I'm not sure why. There's a bit of a mutiny. There's a number of us just left Freak FM and went on to London Underground. And that was it. And just got the ball rolling there. And London Underground started growing, started doing their parties.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah.
And that was it. So the rest is history as far as music's as far as radio's concerned.
Yeah.
But there's quite a few of us. We kind of abandoned Freak FM for some political reason. I'm not sure why. But it was a long time ago.
Yeah, no. That's understandable. That's fine. So you're on London Underground.
Yeah.
You're doing your shows. You're playing garage house or garage.
It was house music. House and garage actually.
House and garage.
I mean, what we call soulful house music today is what garage was, or it is. If you look at events like Garage City, that started in 91, I do believe.
Yeah.
You go to Garage City, you're not listening to the garage that you think you know.
Yeah.
It was bumpy, soulful house music.
Yeah.
But we called it house and garage.
Okay.
Garage meaning the bumpy house. But it's just as it changed, it evolved later. And started calling it UK Garage when it was a bit more two-step, when you had more MCs getting involved and stuff. This is like later. I think this is more like 97 onwards. But before that, it was probably B-side American dubs, bumpy house vocals and stuff.
Like you mentioned, Masters at Work.
Kerry
Chandler's.
Yeah, absolutely. Kerry Chandler, DJ Disciple. He spent a lot of time in the 90s. Because you got to remember these Americans as well. And then you have people like Grant Nelson, etc., producing music. Early 90s. Tough Matt Jam. Tough Jam come after. Ramsey and Fenn was dropping stuff. I think they'd done Kim Mazel, Big Baby. Not sure if that was 94.
No,
So
that would have been a bit later on.
95, 96. Maybe.
96, 7.
Yeah. Actually, I remember playing that at Numb Nums. We heard that.
Yeah.
On acetate. Okay. So it was a big influx of British producers
coming through.
Yeah, and people like Grant were on the B-sides from King Street Records anyway. They were coming in on the imports from the Americans. So we had this sound and it was growing. But we called it house and garage. It wasn't UK garage. The two-step thing came later, I think from 95. That started slipping into the equation. And then by 96 was probably everyone was just, producing two-step. You got the MCs on there. So the thing evolved. It just, like always does, always music, you take music, it just evolves and changes into something else.
Yeah.
I think. So there's some crazy times, man. It was good. Because it was a scene that was growing hard. While the jungle scene was massive.
Of course.
We had this underground house and garage scene, which was growing. It was a Sunday scene.
To start with.
Yeah. That was, like I said, the after parties. That was at Gray's Inn,
We'll come on to that.
Okay, you want to come on to that?
We'll come on to that. But in between London Underground, who came up with the name for Numb Nums? We're going to talk about that because if I can just move this away. Oops. Talk us through this flyer.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What does that mean to you if I show you this?
What does it mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a long story, man.
It is a long story.
Yeah.
One of the first flyers?
That was the first flyer.
What, the first flyer?
That was,
Yeah?
That was the first flyer. That was Gray's Inn. January 95, if my memory serves me well.
A couple of months out.
March?
Yeah.
That
March.
might be the second one. No. Just wondering if that was the first. It was March 95.
Mm.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is.
Hey?
Yeah, it was.
24, 25. That's nearly 30 years.
Almost.
Yeah, next year, March, that'll be 30 years. Since we've done that. That's pristine, that is.
I know. Keeping good, Nick. Who came up with the idea, Numb Nums?
I think we were toying,
Yeah.
me and Femi I think we were toying with the word numb and stuff, and we just come up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of us done this creating names and stuff you always had to have a name of some sort for some event. And we just come up with that.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time with the boys back then.
So you're doing Numb Nums, London Underground, it's all growing organically together.
Mhm.
You're getting work, everyone's doing well. The scene's growing, as you
The
mentioned.
scene's growing, it's flying.
It's growing.
Yeah.
Club knowledge.
Right.
Where does that fit in?
Okay, so when we used to fly Numb Nums, I think when we started in 95, we were out on the streets.
Okay.
There's no licensing laws against putting flyers on cars and stuff. I mean, you do that today, they'll fine you.
Oh, yeah.
So how we used to market and promote clubs was you'd stand outside a club and as people leave, you will give them flyers.
Okay.
Or you will leave flyers on their cars.
Okay.
And you have posters up. You know, it's just stuff like that. That's how we used to market. So market the events. We were out on the street. We had a good little team. We have a younger generation, like my brother Hass, Jay Jr., and like we had Jez. We had all these slightly younger generation who were out flying for us and stuff. But we done it, and we done it really well. And then I just had some other promoters saying to me, "Who does your flying?" I said, "We do." Like, "Oh, we need someone to do ours." So we said, "Oh, we'll do it for you." So instead of us looking at them as competition, we kind of embraced the competition.
Of course, yeah.
And started flying for other promoters. And then I think we got 5 or 6 promoters who we were flying for on a regular basis, and the team was growing.
Okay.
And then just decided to put it in a plastic bag. And then we were giving out this flyer pack. And then I had this idea one day, which was to get an A4 and fold it down to A5.
Right, okay.
Which is the cover there that you're looking at.
Okay.
And then I approached all the promoters to take advertising space on it. All of them dissed me, so I gave them a free advert.
All right.
But then the following month, they all wanted it, you know, because it was on, because every week the flyers would change.
Yeah.
You know, someone would want flying for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But the flyer pack, we used to keep it for 1 month, the cover. So we changed it monthly.
Okay.
And then before you know it, we're just selling the cover. You know, eventually it turned into a magazine. Club Knowledge turned into a magazine in the end. But that's how Club Knowledge grew. It was just like a flyer pack, flyer distribution. It was like a one-stop shop. We'll do printing for the club, for the promoters, do their flying and stuff like that. So Club Knowledge grew, and it was like a hub. It was a hub for the garage scene at the time, the house and garage scene at the time. I think it was 97 it came about, 96, 97.
Yeah, that's right.
We started flying for people, I think, in 96.
Before?
We've already been in a year and a half into it because it was relentless. Our flying was really good. We used to do a really good job of it. Everyone was quite passionate about it as well. It was something new. It was exciting.
Of course.
And then the reward was the event. Because we'd all have the event. It'd been one big, massive party. It was brilliant. It was really good.
Okay. And how did that transition into Teletext?
That was, I think, so Club Zone was on ITV, but they catered more for the hard house scene.
Right, okay.
And Bill, my partner at the time, was a hairdresser for Vidal Sassoon. And I think one day he said to me, he goes, this lady came into the hairdressers and I cut her hair, and she told me that, you know, there's a new channel. She works for Channel 5. And I just looked at him and I was like, what, Channel 5? Because back then, in 97, I think we had 4 channels.
Yes, still 4 channels.
4 channels. Club Zone was on
yeah.
Teletext. I mean, and for obviously the younger viewers, Teletext was very, very basic graphics on the back end of TV. So you'd hit the Teletext button and you could go and watch news if you put the number in, you know. So I just said to him, look, get a meeting. We'd done a proposal. We had these three execs in front of us. Said, look, this is our idea. We want to do a club guide. It was basically what Club Zone was doing. But obviously this is for our scene, which was a different scene. You know? And they said they loved the idea and everything. And we just went ahead and done the business. And the beauty of it was that it was national. So we had advertisers, we had people in Manchester who could see what was going on in London and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we started getting promoters from Birmingham who were promoting with us on the club guide, and at some stage we had like 32 to 35 different events on every week.
Yeah.
And changing them because we were working with Channel 5, updating the adverts. Yeah. They had the graphic designer in-house. We used to give them a flyer. They simplified it because it was a lot of just tech. It was really basic. I mean, I wish I could have a screen grab of that somewhere along the line, to relive it. But we didn't have that ability back then. Someone should have taken a photo of the screen, but
in hindsight.
In hindsight,
yeah,
that's what it is.
Never know.
Yeah, that went on for a good few years.
Yeah,
it was good.
What was the teletext number?
345. They gave us a really easy number. Got nothing to do with 432 right now, but 345 is only because it was just simple. Yeah, I said we need something really simple. I think it was like we asked for 321 at first.
Okay.
No, we actually asked for 345. Yeah, we did ask for 345.
Yeah.
And we did think about other numbers, but no, they gave us the number we asked for, and that was it. 345 was brilliant.
And it
just flows.
It rolls off the tongue nicely as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
345.
Yeah. They allowed us to use the Channel 5 logo as well back then. So it was really weird because everyone used to promote Channel 5 without us doing anything. So we used to say, do you want the logo on your flyer? And I go, yeah. And it's like, and it was weird because back then it would be like, this is our event as seen on Channel 5 Club Guide, because everyone used to love that affiliation, So before you know it, you got like X amount of flyers, you got millions of flyers with this logo on it. Yeah. And the viewership of it was brilliant. Grew and grew and grew. Sort of thing. They loved it. We loved it. Yeah. Everyone was happy. Sort of thing. So it was a nice touch for the club scene, actually. It helped it on a national level as well. Because you got to remember, it kind of like started in London. We say it started in London. I mean, listen, there's pockets of it happening in different places. Yeah, because of the music. It's the music that you're into. And it just grew and it just became a national thing, Yeah. It was a good scene. But for me, I had the happy days. My happy days, I think, were up to about 97, 98. And then I started losing faith in the music, the direction it was going in by other producers, other artists, other DJs and stuff, where it was going and what they were calling garage wasn't what my understanding of garage was. So it was a bit disheartening, if you know what I mean.
Okay. So you've got Numb Nums. That's going on. Mm-hmm. You mentioned about the scene changing, which we will touch on. Okay. Where does Bug Records come into this at this stage? So,
Bug.
So how does that come about? Like in terms of the production and working, or the name, or how did that come about?
I already done music productions. Ramsey was doing music productions, and Fen, they were working in other studios.
Okay.
And then we just got together. We knew each other. The guys DJ'd for us, and that we're good friends. And we decided one day to just set up a studio in Millmead. So we built a studio. It's funny because Ramsey sent me a video of us just walking around in shorts talking nonsense about cars, I think, outside the studio. But it was an old footage because Ramsey used to have this camcorder.
Right.
And I think he's found some of his tapes and dug them out. So yeah, he sent me some footage of us back then outside the studio. It was 1997.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it. It's just quite funny to watch.
I'll have to ask Ramsey about that.
We were young. We were youngsters back then. Yeah, and that's how we started Bug Recordings.
Yeah. So you've seen the journey, of course, that growing. You're now producing at this point.
I think I was more learning. I think I was learning because none of us knew how to do anything in a studio other than sit with engineers.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of producers work. They sit and work with engineers. And for me, I just wanted to probably be an engineer. Because I had, I don't know, I used to build, do my sound system and stuff when I used to do parties, because I used to do parties with my own sound system. I always had a kind of engineering head on me. So for me, it was like, I want to learn how to do this. Yeah. Like how to work the equipment. Yeah. How to be a gear freak. That was a passion of mine.
Was there any equipment you were buying around that time, like hardware, like a drum machine, synthesizers?
I think when we built our studio, we started off. We had what we call boxes, which sit in a rack. You know, we had like Roland JV 1080, vintage keys.
Yeah.
We had the Akai samplers. I think I actually found the invoice for the Akai sampler.
No way.
Yeah. There's an Akai S3000 XL, I think. Trinity synthesizer. We had loads of different, you know. But then later on, I've done it all again. I think in early 2004, I built another incredible studio.
Okay.
Which was more high-end boutique stuff, you know, and also as time went on, equipment got better and better as well.
Of course.
And then we had the transition into digital, which is where I'm at the moment. I don't use any boxes now. For me, music production, you don't need any of that equipment. Like, you just need a good set of ears.
That's it now.
And a laptop and a decent pair of speakers, and that's it. And whatever talent you've got in between. And yeah, I don't use all that boutique stuff. I got rid of it actually because I thought it was hindering. Because now I can work on 7-8 projects at a time. You know, whereas when you got mixing desks and equipment and stuff,
You're very limited to what.
Well, you have to recall. You have to go back to a project at some stage, and it's like to recall it. It's never the same. So now I just work in my laptop, and you know, I can work on multiple projects at the same time. You know, flitting in between each one. So you know, your production level, your turnarounds is quicker. Yeah, and that's how music is at the moment. You know, we're doing high level music, but we're doing it quite frequently because that's what's demanded at the moment.
So talk us through Mad Changes. Bug Records released 004.
Oh, wow.
And working with, just
MJ Cole.
Yeah. Talk us through
MJ
that.
I think he was working with Ramsey and Fenn. I think he first worked with Ramsey and Fenn on Big Baby. And there was another one. These are Kim Mazel tracks.
Quality.
Yeah, that's it. And Big Baby. He worked with the guys from a studio in Shoreditch.
Okay.
Mikey's studio. And then when we set up Bug Recordings, they continued working with Matt.
Right, okay.
The boys did. And I think one evening, I didn't plan on working with MJ. It wasn't like I think we were just talking one night, because sometimes I'd come back after a gig and I'd just sit in the studio and listen to him playing classical music and stuff. We just said, we just do a session together. And I remember we'd done a sampling session together, funnily enough, where we just sat there just sampling tracks all night. And then we just done this track. It was just, it's Mad Changes.
Yeah.
Like,
so it was done in a day, or?
Yeah, all the tracks we done didn't really take long. You go back to them sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I've done a B-side on my own accord, which is a bit wild when I listen back to it. But I mean, that wasn't my first experience in music production. I'd already worked with Mark Williams prior.
Right, okay.
On some stuff.
Yeah.
When he engineered for me.
Okay.
Back in the day. But I think Bug was that 98 was the first release that I put out on vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy times it was. I remember a kid turning up at a gig I was DJing at with a copy of it and asking me to sign it. I just felt like I can't, like, it's, you know when you sit there and you go, no, this can't be happening. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're asking me to sign it was mad. It was absolutely mad, but is what it is, you know.
You touch on the scene changing with 98. So the UK garage, it was still called House and Garage.
I think,
it would have been called, but still then at this point. The scene.
I'm sure when it was like UK garage, the phrase 90, 99 or something like that. I mean, Colin Williams, good friend of mine, he actually bought ukgarage.com.
Oh.
And he's owned it ever since.
What's he done with it?
He's still got it.
He's just got it.
He's still got it.
That's good.
I always said to him, just sell it, man, sell it. You know, at the peak, I was like, sell it. But he's still got it.
He's still got it?
Yeah. Wow. I don't think he's done anything with it.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can talk to him if you want.
Please. Please.
Yeah, but he bought that, I think, in 98, 99. I think that's when people started using the term UK garage. I mean, I remember once coming into the office at Bug and seeing a copy of Ministry of Sound and it said Speed Garage. You know, they're calling it all these different names, you know, because like we did used to pitch the music up and play it a little bit faster than what it was originally made at.
Yeah. That
was normal. But, you know, to say it was Speed Garage, I mean, they're just throwing all kinds of names there. I'm sure there was other names.
Yeah.
And then the music was changing and evolving and stuff. But in the end, I think it was just UK garage and it stuck. So whether it was a rap two-step, or whether it was a speeded up vocal 4 to the floor, or whether it was just a full-on vocal bumpy house, everything was UK garage. You know, which was I was a bit, you know, this doesn't make sense. This ain't what garage and house was for us, sort of thing. And then it just went into almost like trap music, or whatever the style before trap. That was always also called
grime.
UK garage, grime.
Grime,
Yeah,
yeah.
grime. Yeah, before it was grime, they were referring to grime as UK garage almost. Before the grime scene actually settled into be grime.
Grime, yeah.
Just before then, there was a lot of confusion.
It didn't have a name. It was just it was
Part
more,
of it.
Yeah, it was just like it was played at these events, if you so to speak, but they hadn't had a name. So you're probably looking at 2002-3.
I'd already
At this point, you changed.
I already changed before then.
Yeah.
I mean, I come from house. I went back to house. I mean, I made a track in '99, got signed at Sony Music for a house track. So for me, it was like, and then done remixes for Ministry of Sound, Manifesto, and some of the older labels back then. I'd already kind of like, trying to go back to where it came from, because I didn't like what it evolved into.
Yeah.
But the masses were following it.
Yeah.
But we were underground. So when the underground grows, it just gets, I just felt it was like, not hijacked, but it was just like, people get involved and do what they do, and if it changes or moves in directions, then so be it,
Yeah.
I just thought, what, you lot carry on. I'm going back to doing what I do.
And that's
Soulful House, which is garage.
And that's a shame when you look at how your journey transitions sort of early 90s to the late 90s, and you've seen this change where it would have, your house and garage events are playing in your room twos of jungle drum and bass events. You're doing Numb Nums. You've seen it grow, and then you've seen the change just changed again.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel, seeing that change rapid for you?
Listen, you can't stop. You can't stop it.
Mm.
And everyone's got their own interpretation. They've got their own window of how they see things.
Yeah.
And it's like some of these garage documentaries.
Mm.
You can sit and watch them.
Yeah.
And sit there and go, 1 minute, well, where did this guy come into the scene? Do you get what I mean? At what point did you get involved in it? Because the story does go back,
Absolutely.
It's like a solid decade of start to finish. But a lot of it is transition and moving and evolving.
Yeah.
So everyone's got their own view of how they perceive their story, and you got to respect that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Did people get missed out on a lot of documentaries? Of course they did. Of course they did. So if ever I do see a garage documentary, a lot of time I'm like, who's this guy? When did this guy get involved?
Yeah.
Because I'd already come out of it, and he's talking about 1999. And I'm like, wow, okay.
We're talking well into UK. You're talking into it's called
2000.
Now.
Yeah.
Scene's already involved. It's gone commercial now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And today, I think the garage scene as well hasn't really changed. It's like we've got it's like a time capsule.
It's just there.
It's just there.
Yeah.
So every time I walk into a garage event, I hear the same sort of tunes by the same sort of DJs, And I know there's guys out there producing music, but they're calling it garage house. No one's actually making classic garage or whatever UK garage was back then. Because it's a bit of a mishmash. The whole thing's, it's like...
When you look at other genres as well, like house, soulful house, deep house, the scene and their sound evolve. It's changing.
We're always playing new music, man. We're always producing new music sort of thing. And we're enjoying new music, and we're hungry for new music. We used to be like that. When we used to go into the record shop, we used to get excited. I'm like, it's true. This record, play this record, play it out, get the response, We had that passion back then, yeah. And we still have that today. But listen, I still play at some garage gigs.
Yeah.
I won't say, no, don't snub it or anything like that. I have my kind of style of that I play. Yeah. But, it was a beautiful journey to be in, and met a lot of people, and you still see them people today. Yeah. Still doing things, still involved in music. Yeah. That's it.
Exactly. Talk us through the funk, Pleasure Love.
Oh, Jesus.
Please.
Funk. That was 99.
Yeah.
Split with Ramsey and Fenn.
Okay.
Sitting in my office in West Green Road.
Okay.
Where we used to do the flyer packs.
Right. Okay.
And Mark Williams, an old friend of mine, he split with his partner at the time.
Okay.
As well. I think then Dylan. He used to do thumping vinyl. He came and he was sitting opposite me, and we're in office. And my equipment, my share of the equipment was sitting in the office. I was a bit lost. I ain't got my studio no more. Mm-hmm. Split up with the guys. And I get a phone call from Panos, Liassi from Amen UK. Funnily enough, I bumped into him at ADE. I was crossing one of the bridges over Amsterdam only the other day.
Yes.
I just bumped into him again. It was nice to see him actually. And he said to me, he goes, my partner's away. Just come to the studio. So I went with Mark to the studio, produced this track called Pleasure Love. Andrew Toomey sung it. It was an Earth, Wind and Fire sample. Made this track. And then I went to Miami, Winter Music Conference about a week later. Took CDs with me. Bumped into DJ Disciple, who I saw from the night, I knew him from the 90s circuit. Dave still phones me today. We still talk, He's a teacher now. He's teaching.
Okay.
And stuff. Lovely guy.
Yeah.
And he'd done some heavy.
Oh yeah.
92, 93.
Yeah.
Heavy house tracks, which were the Sunday scene anthems.
Yeah.
I gave him this CD. Was listening to it. He said, yeah, this is dope. And then I think a couple of weeks later, he came over to London and he was playing on Pete Tong's Radio 1 show.
No way.
And then he played it. He gave me a shout. And from there, we just got a record deal with Sony. Because back then, if you was on Pete Tong's Radio 1 show, if you're unsigned, you're going to be signed.
Yeah.
So because it's the break music, but it was good. It was nice. It was a nice touch. And then the music, the money I made from that, I went and bought the rest of my equipment and built the studio again. It was a nice little story. It just went full circle, Yeah. And it's funnily enough, it got remixed. Was it this last year? It got remixed again by Dr. Packer and got re-released in Australia.
Dr. Packer done a mix?
Yeah, and it went to national number one. It went to number one on Track Source, but nobody knows it was my track.
Oh.
So I was sitting there celebrating, going, yeah, it's got a number one. Everyone's like, no one knows that I'm D-Funk, along with Mark and Panos. So we had a number one on Track Source last year, which wasn't actually accredited to Cafe 432. But it was an overall of the whole chart. So it was nice.
And that's like resurgent again as well.
Yeah,
that sounds background anyway.
Yeah, we've done a record with, who is it? I can't remember the name of the record label in Australia. It was nice. It was a nice little touch from nowhere.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the music that you do in the past comes back round.
Of course. Yeah. Has its,
old music that nothing happened with it. Like we've just done it again. We've just done an ambient melodic house track.
Okay.
Sort of in Black Coffee kind of place.
That sort of the ammo.
Yeah.
Sound.
Well, it's a little bit tougher.
A
bit tougher, but it's quite melodic in that. We found some vocals and we just done a track and already we've got a record label wants it in Italy.
Okay.
So we're kind of like dabbling in other things. House is house.
Yeah, of course.
House is house. And there's so many subgenres now, sort of thing. So it's nice. It's like even myself when I play out, I play different at every gig.
Yeah.
No two gigs are the same.
No, exactly.
And you have to play, like I was in Amsterdam, so I played a certain way. I was in Forward Motion a couple of weeks ago, I played a different way, I'm at Blue Marlin on the 9th of November. So I've got to play different there as well, because Blue Marlin's very much that melodic kind of thing. So
do you find when you play out of in places like Europe and overseas, do you find the energy and your sets are different and you feel more of an energy when you're DJing as opposed to playing in England?
No, it's just a different energy, full stop.
Okay.
Yeah, because in Amsterdam, they play a slightly tougher house sound.
They do.
Less soulful, tougher.
Yes.
But I played a tough, soulful sound, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
It's a little bit deeper.
Yeah. But the vocals.
Yeah, but I got away with it. It's like, because I was the odd one out on the lineup. Because if you look at the lineup, everyone's plays that tougher house sound. I was the only really soulful house DJ. But I don't even know if we could call it. It's just house music at the end of the day. It just has a slightly soulful influence. That's it, with vocals. Yeah, because a lot of people, they weren't playing like tons of vocals. I'd play a full-on song with a vibe. That's what I enjoy. That's where I come from. Like this, it's got to have song. It's got to have soul. Whether it's gospel, R&B, soul music, whatever. It's got to have that vibe in it. That's what makes me tick. Always has done. I think that's because as a kid we listened to soul, R&B, real soul and R&B.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, not the manufactured nonsense.
Yeah, I totally.
More of recent years, but the 80s and 90s were an amazing time.
Wonderful
music.
Time.
Yeah, I think the best time.
Yeah,
for music as well.
Yeah,
it was less manufactured. It was more real. Today it's pretty much all manufactured.
Pretty much,
especially if you're watching it on mainstream media. But it's nice that you're getting away with like. Well, I don't know if it's nice. I mean, sometimes the kids now are just blowing up off of Instagram, off of like some small snippets.
Yeah.
you know, and becoming famous off of a small snippet. I think the other day I heard something remix. I thought, oh, this is really good. You know, 20,000 likes, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I went to SoundCloud page. I let me download this remix that these guys had done. Like everyone's going nuts over the 20-second snip that they'd done. Downloaded it and it was pants. It just sounded awful. I was bored after 20 seconds. Like that 20 seconds grabs you, but I was bored after the rest of it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, wow, like Instagram is just pretty much a lot of actors acting, dancing behind the decks, you know.
Yeah, but
Like,
when you really go and
there's no
investigate-
history to them and no talent either. You know, anyone can, you know, put on a nice outfit and dance behind the decks
Yeah.
and video themselves. But we're loving that. We're respecting that. Are we? I don't know. It's a bit.
Times have changed again. It's
Oh, mate,
Yeah.
it's just a bit, you know. I mean, I've stopped caring.
Yeah.
I just do what I do. I just stay in my lane. I'm just like, listen, you get on and do what you're doing. And if you're getting great success from it,
great.
good. You know,
Do your thing.
but it'd be nice just stick him in front of a lot of people and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, that's when, you know, there's a difference between a real artist or someone who entertains people or someone who's sitting hiding behind a camera at home, pretending to be great at what they do, whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah, times are changing again. We're going through another revolution, aren't we? You know, and AI is another one.
AI is definitely,
But we've got to embrace it.
Yeah, we have to.
So we can't look at it and go, oh, AI, it's really bad. No, listen, it's coming. It's here.
It's here now.
What are you going to do? How are you going to use it? Like, how are you going to integrate it into your profession? How are you going to have it, you know, help you?
Yeah.
You know, because if you don't and you shun it, you know, you're in trouble. You know, so we've got to move with the times. I mean, you got to remember, we started off recording on tape.
Of course, I'm from that generation.
And then digital, you
Yeah.
know, and then, you know, tape, you know, digital tapes, digital. Yeah. You've got to move with the times.
Just before even digital, I was mini disc as well.
Oh, God, yeah.
My mini disc came up with me everywhere.
Yeah.
And the fact that it had long play 4 and long play 8, I was like, great, don't have to bring my tapes out no more. I can fit everything on a tape or a CD onto a mini disc. Great.
Yeah.
Still got it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, it's just
Yeah.
formats, isn't it? It's how-
Exactly.
But now, obviously, we don't buy CDs, we don't buy tapes, we don't buy anything. People rent music. Unless you're a DJ, only DJs buy music now.
Wow.
Because I want to own my own catalogue. I
course.
don't want to rent a catalogue of music.
Exactly.
Because you don't own it.
Exactly.
It's not yours. You know. So, yeah.
Just gonna fast forward a little bit.
Go
All
on.
right. Talk us through how you connected with Tiny Temper and Labyrinth. How did that all come about?
Mark Williams, again,
Okay.
we're close friends. He was a teacher and he was teaching, I think, music and stuff to school kids,
Okay.
young kids.
Okay.
Because Timothy, I think when I first met him, he was like 14 or something, you know. And Mark was teaching him. Now, Lab's got a family of musicians. His brother's a drummer. You know, his auntie's Phoebe Edwards.
Right.
You know, like big family of musicians. And I remember Lab's mum said to Mark, look after my son. Like, you know, take care of him, make sure he's cool. And when I met Lab, so there's something about this kid, you know? It's like when you look, there's something special about this kid, like from a talent point of view.
Yeah.
He's got something. This is instead of listening to play the guitar, sing.
Oh.
You know, stuff, like little jams like that, you know? And when people could just do that on the fly. And I remember when they started making music and Mark was working with him. So, you know, helping him to create who he was. And at the same time, I got into a business which I started making money. And I'd already, when I moved out of the studios that I had before, I was going to go digital. And then I realized digital wasn't the way forward. It was too early. I think I was a bit ahead of myself, trying to go from analog to the digital realm. And when I started making money, I started buying boxes. Like when I say boxes, like equipment. And I started buying special equipment, special speakers. Like this was like an illness, you know, like buying an equalizer for a few grand. You know, there's all that kind of stuff. Okay. And I built this amazing studio. Because by now, the art of engineering I'd learned.
Of course, already.
Because I remember it's been like 8 years, 9 years. So Mark called me.
Yeah.
And he said to me, look, Lab's done a track with Tiny. He goes, do you think you can mix it? So he sent me the folder, come over, and it was a massive folder. It was like over 100 stems. Okay. And just started trawling through it, getting it into shape. And then Mark come down, we got onto the session and we started mixing it down. And I was like sitting there thinking, this is one incredible piece of music. You know, it's pass out. It's big. You can tell it's big. And then I remember when it finished, we sent it in. And then EMI said, it's gone to the Radio 1 A-list. I was like, wow, you know? And this is like Tiny's debut track. And it just blew up. And it was on playlisted on all the radio stations.
Everywhere.
It was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was massive.
I remember. Yeah.
And for me, it was a big thing because I was like sitting there going, wow, I worked on this. And then Frisky.
Another one.
Frisky as well.
Yeah.
And that one on Mobo, I did. And I remember using all the equipment and stuff. It was an amazing time.
Yeah.
It was. And then off of the back of that, we just started getting mix work from the majors. So I started mixing for like Island Records, EMI, Warner's, all the majors. We're just mixing and making money, big money as well, because you know I've had a number one.
Yeah. And
then I then find out that the 2 tracks that I done went onto the album. The album went double platinum.
Wow.
Pass Out was platinum. Yeah, I got awarded. Yeah, because I'm on the credits because as part of the production.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, it just went crazy, man. So it was like during, I think this is 2011 that happened.
That would have been about that time. Yeah.
2011.
Yeah. A lot of new artists, young artists coming from London now at this point. Mill Sandy was around this time. A lot of those artists were coming through now. It was a nice change again of
and I was still doing house music.
You were still?
Yeah. And I was under the guise of Soul Stars.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think I set up Soundstate Recordings in 2002, which I still have, Soundstate Recordings.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
But we're using like the first 4 or 5 releases were Soul Stars. They're not actually available on streaming.
Okay.
But I need to dig them out
and
upload them.
Yeah, you should.
But
so where did Cafe 432 come into it? Is that a little bit
I think
later
that was more 2014.
Okay.
So my partner Kevin, I've always worked with Kevin.
What? Who came up with the name?
Just come up with 432 Hertz. You know, just come up with this name.
Yeah.
And that was 2014, and we'd done the first track.
Yeah.
Gave it to Colin Williams on CD. He handed it to Kerry Chandler in Croatia.
No way.
Barbarella's at 6 a.m. Handed it to him.
Yeah.
And I don't know why or how, but Kerry Chandler played it. So Colin Williams filmed it.
Oh, so
I get a little message, a text message at 6:30 in the morning. People were like, who's this texting me? Because my phone used to be on all the time. We had alarms at the premises. Phone, I'm like, what? Kerry Chandler's playing that tune. I was like, what? That's mad.
You must have.
It was mad.
Yeah.
It was mad. But you know, we've had a lot of that since then. You know, whether it's Louis Vega playing our stuff or David Morales or any of the big guns, you know, they've all played our music somewhere along the line. You just start, I don't know, is what it is. You know, it's nice that they play it. Well, you know, it's nice that anyone plays your music, to be honest with you.
100%. Yeah.
So I'm just grateful. Even I get a lot of messages on Instagram. I respond to every single one. Just people going, oh, I love this tune. I'm always like, which one? Because the catalog's quite big. But yeah, Cafe 432 is doing all right. You know, getting good listenership. Spotify's going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
And I have to say, I'm admiring some of your work as well for Under That Brolly as well. Really.
Thank you,
just takes me back to when I started DJing and the Soulful Castle. When I look at some of the early Spend stuff, that gives me that vibe of that soulful. You've got that soulful sound.
Got soul in it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's house music with soul.
And it's got that timeless sound to it. You can pick it up in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
I remember where I was. I remember hearing that. It's about that.
Yeah.
You know. So
we focus on the songs.
Right.
For us, it was like we don't release any instrumentals. We hardly ever do any dubs. And for us, it's about the song.
Yeah.
So working with great songwriters, you know, great vocalists. And I think that's what makes it timeless. Yeah. And then down the road, somewhere along the line, you can do a remix and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not so clubby. It's more radio friendly, I'd say, than it is. But our demographic's quite nice. Here's an older demographic. It's kind of split actually.
Yeah.
You got the over 40s, but then if you add up everyone below that, it's equal sort of thing. Slightly more male than female.
Yeah.
But it's a good split. It's a good demographic on it. So yeah, just enjoying it at the moment.
And how are you enjoying your shows on My Soul?
That's all right.
Yeah.
I haven't done one for about 4 or 5 weeks. So just call me up as and when. I do love it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel I can handle a weekly show anywhere. That's a lot of commitment. I take my hat off to anyone who could do a weekly radio show.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But just doing one now and then
Is
I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
You know, instead of a monthly, even that might be too much for me. You know, but just now and then, just do a show. It's special. You can promote it afterwards. Look, this is a show I've done. You're not going to get them all the time. It's just now and then. But you know, it was nice to see. You know, to put the 97 mix.
Yeah.
To listen to that again, I was like, man, I was in a club playing vinyl, and that's 97.
Yeah.
You know, to have something like that is special. You know, because that just shows that we've been around a long time doing what we do. You know, so we've got a bit of history. So it's nice. I'm going to put that up on my Mixcloud.
Yeah. And just so just for the audience who what Jonesy was referring to, what he's referring to is that we have, if you're new to new subscriber to the channel, we have an exclusive content on a little playlist on our channel, which is the Numb Nums, some of the exclusive sets from EC1, Camden Palace, to name a few. So do head over and check some of those recordings. So it's very timeless.
That's from the vaults.
That's from the vaults, and more to come as well. So definitely. Just to wrap the podcast up, is there anything we should look out for in 2025?
Just more of the same, really.
Yeah.
I think we're doing a lot more DJing.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Okay. There's loads of events on all the time. I mean, I don't know when this is going out, so there's no point naming them. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of DJing gigs. People just see my socials, Cafe 432 on Instagram.
Yeah.
Facebook, I'm not that active on. TikTok, I've started, but struggling. Listen, the social media thing does my nut in. It's just like, it's just too much. How much more are we going to do? I mean, years ago, you'd have a team of people doing everything for you. You know, now as a producer, you're a DJ, you're a graphic designer, you're a social media, whatever. You're your own agent, your own, you're all singing, all dancing. You're doing too much of everything, I think. So for me, it's difficult. I find it difficult just doing posts and stuff like that. I'm getting there slowly.
You're doing well, yeah. Normally you post, you always got a nice little video somewhere nice, lovely setting, or you're playing out somewhere. I was there as well.
Everyone thinks I'm living the dream. I'll do anything for your life. You must be really enjoying it. I'm like, really? if only you knew. Yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, we love DJing.
Yeah.
But it's still a job.
Yeah.
You get paid to do work.
Exactly.
It's not like, and then you've got to travel there. Mm. You've got, the setup there. Are you happy with it, or are you going to struggle with it? And then you got some customers, punters, listeners, whoever at the clubs who I had one the other week. He said to me, "Can I spin a few?" He goes, "I've got decks at home." I just said, "Oh, really?"
Please.
I asked him what he does. He said he worked for a brewery.
All right.
I said, "Shall I just turn up on Monday and ask to do your job for you?"
Basically.
It's crazy.
I know.
Yeah. So, listen, we love it. We love it.
No, definitely. Right. We're going to wrap the podcast up, but what we normally do on the Unspoken Word, we normally ask a few fun fact questions.
Okay.
All right. So just answer them if you can.
If I can.
If you can.
I will do. Go on, man. I'll try my best.
What was your favourite venue you DJ'd at, where and when?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Favourite venue I DJ'd at? Listen, I think over the years, that's quite a hard question to answer.
Just pick one.
Well, okay, this year. What did I enjoy this year?
Yeah.
Right, I enjoyed Soul Fusion in Portugal.
Okay.
That was mad.
Yeah.
Like, they were having it, the music, the vibe, everything. DJ before me was right. DJ after me was right. Oh. It was just one of those nights where it just flowed, and everyone who was there, this was back in May, everyone who was there, they felt that, that was such a great vibe. iCulture in Amsterdam was nice. Really enjoyed that as well. There's quite a few actually. Venice Boat Party.
Yeah.
I think every year there's
something.
Yeah, there's really good vibe ones. There's some that you go to and you go, oh, Jesus, here we go. Do you know what I mean? So I think I'm gonna be more selective about where I play. Like really gonna think about, am I going to do any service for this event?
Yeah.
Because I think when you start out, you DJ anywhere, like, because it's just that experience of just DJing anywhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether it's to 2 people, 10 people, or 100. It doesn't matter. You're really hungry to play anywhere.
Yeah.
I think when you get to a level where, you know, you've got regular gigs coming in, it's like, now I'm asking a bit more questions because I want to be in the right places. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to be behind the decks going, oh, I shouldn't really be here, or I'm playing music that I'm struggling with this crowd.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you've got to be a bit more selective. You know, I am flexible as a DJ. I do play different styles. But, you know, there's been a couple that I've done and I was kind of like, I shouldn't have done this. This isn't for me.
Yeah.
You know, but it is what it is.
It is.
So, yeah, there you go. That's the past year. But historically, you know, Ministry of Sound was great to play in because the setup's just incredible.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
That's
fine.
That's it, gone.
All right. Another one. Grant Nelson or Moose T?
Oh,
sorry.
Grant.
Grant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, only because I love Grant.
Yeah.
I've known Grant years. You know.
Okay.
He's a beautiful soul, Grant is.
All right.
Not just a great producer, but a beautiful person. I love Grant.
All right. Ibiza or Croatia?
Ibiza.
Ibiza, why?
I think it depends how you know Ibiza.
I know it to a point.
Right?
Yeah.
Or how many years you've been going to Ibiza. Or why you're going to Ibiza. Or what's in Ibiza, you know?
Yeah.
There's things going on in Ibiza that ain't commercial. There's, you know.
Very true.
So it all depends what you're doing in Ibiza. But for me, I do love Ibiza as an island. You know, has it changed? Yes, it has, you know, over the years. But Croatia for me is great, but I can't even see myself being in Croatia anytime soon. Okay. You know, I've been out there for Sunset Beat on a few occasions, but they've moved. They've gone to Portugal. So I can't see how Croatia is going to be the capital of the dance scene in any shape or form because I'm not sure. I think some other promoters have pulled out from it. Because I think when there's a lot of promoters and a lot of attendees, the prices of everything goes up.
Yeah.
It starts becoming unaffordable.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, Ibiza's already hit that a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been gentrified, and it's getting quite expensive to go to Ibiza for a holiday, but the demand is huge.
Yeah.
But Ibiza is all to do with where you're going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's another question. Conversation.
So Ibiza over Croatia for me.
Yeah.
Only because I've got a history with it, you know.
As well. That's all right. Just a few more. Bagley's.
Right.
Camden Palace.
Oh, okay.
Or Ministry of Sound.
At what moment in time? Because they all had their day at different times.
If you think about each club at their peak.
At their peak?
Yeah. Then which one would you go for?
That's a hard one. I mean, I used to play Bagley's a lot. And Debbie and Mark Sampson used to run Freedom, who I used to DJ for. It's funny enough, I saw Mark not long ago at Hard Times. Yeah, I used to play there quite often. Camden, we had some amazing nights. That's a hard one, you know. That's out of order.
I know it is
because I can't.
You got to pick one at their peak.
I think I'm just gonna say, oh God, see, Ministry at its peak was great. Early 90s and Ministry of Sound was amazing.
We're gonna stick with Ministry.
Well, I'm gonna say Camden.
Camden.
Only because I have fond memories of Camden from Numb Nums.
Okay, we'll leave it.
So that's the only reason I've gone there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it.
That's fine. No worries. TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Brilliant. And if someone was to make a movie about your life, which actor would you like to have to play you?
Jesus Christ.
And we'll end it on that one.
I have no idea, man. I wouldn't know. I'm not a film buff. I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV for years.
No?
Yeah, so I can't really say which actor. If I said an actor, it would probably be some actor from 30 years ago because I don't watch TV. No, I have no idea. Who would play me? Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's a tough one.
All right, we'll let you pass on that. I'm going to ask an additional question then. If I asked you to name 3 records, okay, which inspired your career, which 3 records would it be and why?
I think every record you ever play inspires you.
It does, but you've got to tell me 3.
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
Right, so I'm going to start with one for you.
Go on.
Diana Ross, because you mentioned it.
Oh, Piano was my first as a childhood.
So that's one off the list. You've got 2 more.
I've always liked the song that was before its time was Jeffrey Osborne, Plain Love.
All right.
That was a B-side from his big hit. Yeah. But Plain Love,
Yeah.
I remember every time I used to listen to it, the way the guitar and just everything about it was like, you know what, if everyone wanted to produce a track, it'd be that, just the way it was.
Okay.
But you've put me on a spot, so I don't, that's another one. I'd say, all right, let's just say that.
Okay.
Plain Love,
So that's
Jeffrey Osborne.
So that's
Only
two.
because of the way the production was on it.
Yeah. One more.
I really can't think, man. What track would I have ever wanted to produce if ever I could produce a track? I don't know. Something all about Frankie Beverly, Maze.
Oh, what? Yeah. God,
Just the
that's a song.
simplicity.
Yeah.
The simplicity of Twilight. Yeah,
Yeah.
just the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
You know, that track I could just listen.
Yeah.
And it was so simple. You know, oh, there is another one. Summertime.
Which?
Cool in the Gang.
Cool in the Gang.
That's another one.
Summer Madness.
Summer Madness, not Summertime.
Yeah.
Summer Madness.
Yeah.
Cool in the Gang, the
Yeah.
original track.
Yeah.
That's another one.
That's a masterpiece.
When I hear that, I'm just like, oh man, them
Yeah.
Simps. You know,
And
just
so many producers have inspired from that sample just
Oh.
alone.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's just that 80s synth sounds that they were playing, you know, and with the envelopes on them and stuff like that. Just the way it was just constructed was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. There's 4 there.
That's
We could start going through them all because there's loads.
No, but you've got me 3. So
There you
that's
go.
fine. Jonesy, it was lovely to have you
Thank
on
you very much
the
for having
Unspoken
me,
Word,
man.
on the Unspoken Word
Good luck with it. I
podcast.
hope this becomes something big, and I know you've got some great people coming up as well. So good luck to you as well, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Much
thanks for having
appreciated.
us.
You're most welcome. All right. Well, just remember, guys, to hit that like, share, and subscribe button for more content and more episodes from the Unspoken Word podcast. And thank you again for watching. Take care.